I recently saw Complete Unknown, and to be honest, my thoughts are quite simple. The popular review line I have seen has been that Bob Dylan still remains a complete unknown after this movie, which I agree with somewhat, but it comes back to what this movie seeks to achieve. Most musician biopics follow a formula. We have seen it many times, and James Mangold might be the man credited with making the movie that inspired the parody that showed us the repetitive nature of musical biopics. I don't mind this formula though, and every genre has this formula to one degree or another, but musical biopics get a bad rap it seems, possibly because they have been very common in the last decade. First off, if you don't enjoy Bob Dylan's music, you won't enjoy this movie. Chalamet sings a lot and he does it very well, and I do love Bob Dylan's work, so it's good with me. The film mostly focuses on his early career and his experimenting with different forms involving folk and rock and all sorts of things, but the main crux of the movie is his relationships with Sylvia and Joan Baez. And even for these, we only get small glimpses behind the curtain. This movie felt like it came from the perspective of the people around Bob Dylan, not necessarily the man himself, which I appreciate as someone who believes that the mystique behind an artist helps their work. James Mangold showed us so much of the music of Bob Dylan because he wants the music to speak for him, much in the way he probably wants his films to speak for him, and based on the movie how Bob Dylan wants people to see him. I also really loved how this musical became a vehicle to explore themes of identity, who one is, who one wants to be, and if our past truly make us who we are, and if we are free to forge our own path in the world. It makes Bob Dylan's music quite intriguing when you wonder if any of what he sings about is really true. But it doesn't matter if it's true. It came from his soul, and if it touches your soul and gives you a feeling, does it matter? I love when movies explore this theme. I only wish we got a little bit more of it. The music stands center stage for better or worse. We don't leave Bob Dylan much, but we also don't get too in his head. So it truly feels like it's both from his perspective, but then not at all at the same time. His worldview comes when others around him question him too much, and we see his angst toward it. And I left the theater still thinking about these discussions, so I just wish we got a little bit more of them. But now I might go through some Bob Dylan albums and really pay attention to the lyrics. So mission accomplished, I guess, if that's what James Mangold was going for, which I think it was. These filmmakers wanted to introduce us to Bob Dylan, and I think they did a great job. Many of these artists want their work to speak for them, and I respect that. Other little things I love and little thoughts. I love Ed Norton in just about everything he's in. He's one of my favorite actors. He always kills it, and he disappears into this role like I've never seen before. He was very subdued and honest and was truly playing another person. I love Dan Fogler as a longtime Balls of Fury fan from way back, so I always love to see him pop up in anything. I just support this guy because I'm a huge table tennis guy, and so that movie I would watch a lot growing up. I love sports comedies. I loved Elle Fanning, as she almost serves as the true anchor to reality for Bob in the film, and her conversations with Bob Dylan are my favorite scenes. And I loved Monica Barbero. She also completely disappeared into this role. Her voice is amazing, and I had no idea until I looked up how to spell her name that she played Phoenix in Top Gun Maverick. I just didn't even, she does a great job of disappearing. And I loved Boyd Holbrook as Johnny Cash. His performance was electric every time he was on screen, and it was just cool to see James Mangold return to his Johnny Cash directing days. And obviously Timothée Chalamet anchored this movie tremendously as its lead. I always see Timothée Chalamet, but he also commits so hard that by the time the movie is over, I don't see him anymore. It's like Austin Butler with Elvis. I was seeing Austin Butler, but every time he started to act, I would see Elvis. He may have gone a bit too much with the speaking voice. If I'm looking at old interviews, it wasn't that bad, but it is now, but it wasn't back then. But maybe I'm nitpicking, and it's similar to Austin Butler, who is also amazing, but there's only so much you can actually sound like another person if you don't have the same vocal cords. His singing was about as close as you can get, and it's not like this took away anything from it. It's just Bob Dylan has a very distinct voice, so you notice that someone is changing their voice on screen. And honestly, Chalamet just has that intense movie star quality where we like watching him exist and explore on the screen. He's natural and honest and just a great actor. 2-hour 20-minute runtime did fly for me, and I think it actually may be quite shorter without credits because I left the theater going, oh, that wasn't too long. Again, I enjoy this type of music a lot, so I was content just vibing in the theater. The music truly is simple, but extremely well made and and well acted. I think it could have gone a bit deeper into the time period or the relationships, but that's just a different movie, and we have a ton of those types of biopics already. So I appreciate something new, a film that explores a segment of a life instead of trying to cram it all into 120 minutes. I think this might be the new way to do biopics. I feel like this is somewhat a more interesting way to do biopics in much the way the Danny Boyle Steve Jobs did this with 3 different Apple events. And I really love that movie too. I think Michael Fassbender should have won the Oscar that year in my opinion. But back to Bob Dylan, I recommend it. If you don't like Bob Dylan, it might be an uphill battle, but maybe this will turn your opinion around on him. And if you like folk music, I don't see you not liking this movie. Anyways, like the video if you liked it, subscribe if you want to see more. Yeah.